listening to the Fifth Down Fantasy Football Podcast with Johnny Slopes
Top 3 to 5 pick next year.
and Camila.
For the value you could have gotten at Ryan at.
I almost had 5,000 yards, but no, you don't want me. What you're saying is Wayne Gallman is the Devin Funches of running backs?
I guess you could say that. I guess you can put me down as a book saying that.
We now bring you to the Fifth Down.
What is up, Fifth Downers? I am your host, Johnny Slokes, and you're listening to the Fifth Down Fantasy Football Podcast. And with me, as always, is my partner in crime, K-Mill.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Yeah, today we're going to be doing episode 29. So this could be our Week 7 matchups. K-Mill, is there any one particular matchup that you'll be looking on? I know you're a Denver fan, but outside of that game?
Actually, yeah. I'm really looking forward to the Bengals-Steelers game. I feel like that one's going to be awesome. I love divisional matchups like that. And always when these two teams play, it's always a good game.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's going to be a slugfest. This week we have Houston and Detroit on bye, so only two teams on bye. So I think there's, 14 games on the slate. I think by this time in the season, we're starting to realize which teams are good, which teams are bad. Even in your fantasy leagues, you're starting to see which teams are going to end up pulling away, which ones are the juggernauts, which ones are just pretenders. It's all starting to come together. So this is going to be a week to separate yourselves from your league mates. I know there was quite a bit of injuries up from last week. Kamal, do you want to take us into that?
Yeah, we'll go over the noteworthy ones. First off, Titans Browns, DeMarco Murray, or actually Corey Davis has already been ruled out for this game. DeMarco Murray, he hasn't practiced all week. It sounds like he's questionable, but I think it's really unlikely that he suits up.
I heard it's going to be a game time decision. He's going to try to warm up and see how he feels and go from there.
Yeah, I don't feel too good about that. I also, with his situation out, I wouldn't feel particularly comfortable starting Derrick Henry, but I would feel more comfortable starting Henry than Murray, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Kelvin Benjamin's questionable week 7 with a knee. He's not 100%. I know he missed practice Wednesday and Thursday. But he was able to get in a limited practice today, though. So I mean, it could still mean some plenty of work for Devin Funches, and then what I think is a pretty decent matchup for Carolina.
Yeah, I actually think that I really like Devin Funches this week, so it's a good thing you brought that up. Oh, here, I got one. Colts and Jaguars. Leonard Fournette, obviously, he hasn't practiced all week. There was a lot of optimism at the start of the week that he was going to play this week, but it sounds less and less likely that he's going to play because, he hasn't practiced all week, and if I'm the Jaguars here, I'm going to want to, he's your franchise player. I'm going to want to sit down, and help.
Typically a rookie that doesn't practice all week is normally not going to play. But, for some reason, I could see the Jaguars saying, you know what, he's all we have right now. We need him out there. But if he's for some reason, though, if he's unable to go, I know we'll get into this a little bit more, but it's going to be a big change for this offense. It's going to be Chris Ivory in the backfield, and that's obviously not the same thing. I think another interesting injury on Jacksonville is A.J. Bouye. He's been limited pretty much all week, but it does look like he's going to play this week. He's in a pretty good match against the Colts. They don't really have a whole lot of receivers, but have you heard anything about I know Demaryius Thomas was banged up.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to play. I don't think he's 100%, though, so keep that in mind, too. But I think that he'll be fine for this week. San Diego is depleted. Pretty much the only healthy option they have is Casey Hayward. So he'll probably be doing a lot of watching Demaryius Thomas, but I still think he's a fine play this week.
CJ Prosise likely to play. This is a running game that's been struggling lately in Seattle because we really haven't seen a whole lot out of Lacey. We haven't really seen a whole lot of Rawls either. Maybe he can get a chance to make a splash in this one. Are you worried about J.D. McKissic taking any of his work, though?
Yeah, I think, honestly, if Prosise suits up, I think that any week that happens, I think that McKissic's value is completely irrelevant. I think that he can be dropped in pretty much all leagues, I think, at this point.
Have you heard anything about Andrew Luck possibly being shut down for the entire season?
I have heard about that, and it sounds more and more likely every week. And honestly, I have no idea why the Colts even thought that was an option to begin the season. They were like, oh, no, we won't put him on IR. But in reality, they probably should have, because it sounds like he's not even going to be back by week 10. And it's like, then why the hell did you put all this optimism out there that he was going to play when that just wasn't feasible?
Yeah, do you want to come into some of the questions that we've received this week for people's lineups?
Real quick, I just one more noteworthy injury. Stephon Diggs has already been ruled out for the week, so that's a big blow to the Vikings. And also, that's actually a good thing though for McKinnon. I mean, I think that he could have a really good game. I think he's going to be the only option out there. So him and Adam Thielen.
And we'll definitely jump into the logistics of that one. I got a question for you though, K-Mill.
All right.
This guy, he's trading for Zeke in Buck Allen. He needs to drop two of these following players, either Marshawn Lynch, Jerick McKinnon, Alvin Kamara, Duke Johnson, and Aaron Jones. He has to drop two of them.
Ooh, all right. I say definitely you drop you're going to drop Lynch.
Yeah.
I mean, he's suspended for a game. And then I say Aaron Jones, because I think that Ty Montgomery is going to retake the starting role. I think that there's a reason to not like the Packers offense as a whole now without Aaron Rodgers. And I think there's just more of a reason to like Ty Montgomery now.
Is there any reason for you to like either a guy like Lynch or Aaron Jones more than Buck Allen?
I think my personal take is I would rather have Aaron Jones on my bench than Buck Allen, but hey,
Yeah.
to each his own. I mean,
That's how I feel. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Another one is they just picked up Arlene Starkla. Do you try to trade Marshawn Lynch? Well, obviously this happened before Amari Cooper blew up, though.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to say try to trade Lynch for Cooper. Obviously, that's not going to happen no more.
No,
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Here's a 3-for-1 trade for you. Demarius Thomas, Cam Newton, Adrian Peterson for Le'Veon Bell.
I don't like that. If I was the Bell owner, I'd just keep Bell. I mean, there's really nothing to be gained here. Because think about it. If you're doing a 3-for-1 trade, you're gonna have to drop two players, and then that's assuming that you have to. You're gonna want to put all. You can't put all three of these guys in your lineup, is my point. And so one of these guys.
You could, but I mean.
Yeah.
I just don't. Honestly, I almost look at that as a 2-for-1. I'm not sure how sold I am on Adrian Peterson this point. I know he had a great game this past week, but that's just one game. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm not in his believers camp. No way.
Yeah. This week, DeMarco Murray or Doug Martin? I know DeMarco Murray is going to be a game-time decision. I guess that kind of makes your decision a little bit easier.
Yeah, I would say Doug Martin for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, you don't have to answer that one. It was Lynch or Blunt. We're obviously going Blunt. ASJ or Jason Witten?
I at this point I say ASJ. He's become a favorite target in New York, and he's athletic as hell. If he can stay out of trouble, I don't see why he can't finish the season great. So yeah, I would say that ASJ would be a good pick.
Yeah, ASJ is a lovely matchup. That's just some of the questions. I think we'll get to some of the more once we get into the things. Before we start, though, I just want to let everyone know that we're part of the BS Podcast Network. You can find our show on their website, www.bspodcastnetwork.com. We're in the gold tier. You can also find us on iTunes. If you've liked our shows in the past, please leave us a rate and review. We're found on Spreaker and Stitcher as well. What do you say we jump into this first matchup?
Let's do it.
All right, we got Tampa Bay. They're 2-3 going on the road against Buffalo at 3-2. Let's start on the visiting team side right now. Tampa Bay. This is a team that they just got Doug Martin back. You said that you like Doug Martin. I think this is a tough spot for him, though.
I do.
Yeah, Buffalo's fourth in the league in rush defense, and they only give up the most points. They're giving up the 8th fewest points to the running back position so far. So I don't feel like Martin would be a solid play. I mean, he's more of like a RB3 flex guy.
I can see it.
I do, however, like Winston and Evans this week. This is the last time we've seen Buffalo. It was week 4, and they got torched by Cincinnati and AJ Green. AJ Green made them their bitch. So
Yeah.
this could be a coming out party for Mike Evans this week.
You know what? I want to believe you, Johnny, but, here's the thing for me is, we don't know how healthy Jameis Winston really is, and that's my problem. So that's why I'm kind of low on Evans this week personally, just because of him. But I will tell you who I am high on, though. I'm high on Cameron Brate. I think that this guy is an absolute playmaker, and he's proven that no matter who's throwing him the ball, he's going to be productive, and he's in for some red zone targets. So I like him this week.
Well, would you like him as much if I told you that Buffalo hasn't given up a touchdown to the tight end position this year?
I actually didn't know that tidbit, but I still do like him.
Yeah, they give up the 7th fewest points to tight ends. They haven't given up a touchdown all season. One could say, wow, maybe they're good against tight ends. Another one could say, well, maybe there's some positive regression coming for the tight ends against Buffalo sometime in the near future. I think this is going to be a game where I believe that if Winston does play, he's going to spread the ball around. This is they're going up against a team that's about middle of the road in defending the wide receivers.
Yeah,
I definitely think he's going to try to get it out there to Evans, get it out there to DJs, get it out there to Adam Humphries. Those are going to be the main cogs in this one.
Yeah, I think so too. I've always seen Adam Humphries as more of like kind of like a chain mover. I love how Jameis likes to target him on 3rd down. They have a good thing going, and Djax kind of to me, he's historically he's a boomer bust player. So
I don't see him booming this week though.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't like it. Buffalo's been a surprisingly good defense this year. I don't like him this week.
Let's go over to the other side of the ball. I do think Tyrod Taylor makes an interesting streaming option this week. Tampa Bay, they give it up in the air. They're 26th in the league in pass defense. One wants to think that they have to get McCoy going in this one. They don't really have a whole lot of options to throw to. That's the only thing that makes Tyrod a hard stream is he doesn't have any options to throw to.
Yeah, I actually heard. I read an article the other day, and it was like Zay Jones is a start this week, and I kind of laughed to myself, and I was like, really?
I know. I seen somebody trying to talk Zay Jones up, and I quoted their tweet, and all I said was 21 targets, 5 catches.
Yeah.
The dude's trash.
He is trash. He is totally trash. I don't even know why they wasted a draft pick on him. So you can pretty much just shade him. I've heard that Jordan Matthews may or may not suit up for this one. He's officially listed as questionable, I've read. So I really don't think he's going to be a factor, though.
What about? I think a guy that might be getting overlooked by a lot of people is a guy like Brandon Tate. He was a wide receiver last year, or week 4. He caught a touchdown pass from Tyrod Taylor. Maybe if Jordan Matthews did not suit up, maybe that's who they go to. I mean, they always got Nick Larry,
Yeah, don't pick him up.
I mean, they honestly, they might not have any other options as far as Buffalo. They might have to throw to him.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not saying it's a great fantasy option by any means, but
hey, I mean, Tyrod loves to throw the tight end, so he could be an option. It's just really hard to decipher this Buffalo offense, because they're just so devoid of options right now.
Let's go over to Carolina on the road against Chicago. Carolina, their offense appears like it's getting a little bit better. They're going against Chicago. Their defense isn't quite as bad as people think it is. It's still not great either. It's an average defense.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, who do you like on Carolina's side of the ball this week?
Every time I want to talk this guy up, Christian McCaffrey, I just, I always err on the side of caution because the play calling has been horrible, either from Cam Newton or from Ron Rivera, because it just seems like they don't utilize Christian McCaffrey properly. But when he is utilized properly, he has productive games. So I think this is a game where he can be productive, though. I think that Chicago has had its struggles against receiving backs, so I think that he could be in for a nice game.
I mean, they're giving up the 15th most fantasy points to running backs, so they're still like really in the middle of the road. They're in the middle of the road pretty much in every like position, pretty much 14th against tight ends, 15th against wide receivers, 15th against running backs. So I think I like Devin Funchess the most out of this group this week.
I was just gonna say him too. I love Devin Funchess this week.
Yeah, because I really don't think that they're gonna look the tight ends way this week. I think Devin Funchess is just going to be that guy that he's going to be running the post routes. He's going to be running those intermediate routes, and that's really where he's going to succeed in this game.
Kelvin Benjamin, not so much. Doesn't seem like he's 100%. I would kind of fade on him this week. I know he was awesome last week, but I would temper my expectations for him. But that's pretty much it. And Cam, as far as Cam goes, I mean, last week he just, we saw it come back again, those inaccuracy issues. I just really, if Cam's on your team, start him,
I think, though, that this is a game where Cam Newton might get it done a little bit with his legs. I mean, we've seen Jonathan Stewart struggling, and although Chicago's defense doesn't look bad, but Cam Newton's a big athletic dude, and I could just see him taking this game over.
Yeah, I could see that happening too.
It honestly wouldn't surprise me if he got like 50 yards on the ground.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either at all.
Let's go over to the other side of the ball. You got Mitch Trubisky. What do you think of him so far through the past two games?
It looks like the Chicago coaching staff isn't really asking too much of him. They're just kind of like pretty much
they're hiding him.
Yeah, I feel like they're hiding him too, because I feel like they're just having him go out there and be a game manager. Because let's face it, he couldn't have gotten any worse than Mike Glennon. So even at like his unprepared level, because he seems like he's not ready yet. I feel like he has promise, but he's not ready yet. But they had to rush him out there because Mike Glennon was just so bad.
I mean, what was it last week? Didn't they run the ball like 50 times last week?
Yeah, I think
they literally ran it 50 times.
Yeah, he only threw for like 150 yards. They didn't really ask too much of him. So I think that they're just kind of having him go out there, be a game manager, make throws when throws need to be made. I've watched him make a lot of check down throws,
They're playing Carolina. They're seventh in the league in rush defense. They give up the 11th fewest fantasy points, but one area of the field where there's two areas of the field where they kind of do struggle. Carolina's given up 41 receptions to the running back position. Maybe Cohen can get back in track on this one if he can get some more snap time. And they also kind of struggle against the tight ends. They're 22nd against tight ends. Zach Miller, he scored a touchdown last week. He had 7 targets the week before. Mitchell Trubisky's targeted the tight end like 18 times over the past 2 weeks. That's going to be an area of the field that I think Chicago's going to try to work is the flats, the slot, the seam. I think they're trying to use Cohen and Zach Miller a lot in this one.
Yeah, I like Zach Miller in this matchup. I mean, Mitch Trubisky, like I said, he's looking for those checkdowns, and I think that Zach Miller is that number one checkdown on that team.
Yep. I mean, Jordan Howard, I think you're going to have to temper your expectations. Obviously, you're still playing him out there against Carolina, but I do think you have to temper your expectations.
Yeah, agreed.
Anything else with Chicago?
Nah, let's move on.
All right, let's go Tennessee hitting the road onto Cleveland. Do we even know who Cleveland's quarterback is going to be at this point?
I mean, they announced it was going to be Deshaun Kaiser, so yeah.
I feel like they just need to – I feel like Cleveland does this every year. Like, just stick with one guy. Let the dude get his bearings,
Yeah, I had a feeling why they did it last week. I think they switched starters because they didn't want to show their fans, because they passed up Deshaun Watson, and they didn't want to show their fans what they were missing out on. They were like, oh, here's our quarterback, Deshaun Kaiser, and here's the quarterback we could have had, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know how much of that plays a fact, but – even last year, I felt like they're switching quarterbacks prematurely. I felt like they should have just left Cody Kessler. They should have just left Cody Kessler in all year last year, see what they had with him, instead of spending a second-round pick on a quarterback that I didn't really care for to begin with. Maybe they seen something in him. I didn't really care for Kaiser to begin with.
I think they just kind of took him because he was kind of
he fell to him.
Yeah, he was a fan pleaser. He fell to them. And they were like, oh, we have to get a quarterback. We have a glaring need at quarterback. Let's just take this guy. I don't really think that they were in love with him. I don't think anybody really was, but they just took him,
Yep. Tennessee, I mean, it's a shame, though, because Tennessee doesn't really have a very good pass defense. but I don't know if Cleveland's going to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really have any receivers. They got Ricardo Lewis. Like he's an average dude. They got Njoku. He's making some splash plays, catching touchdowns and stuff. I don't feel comfortable starting anyone in Cleveland except for maybe Duke Johnson. Even then, I really don't want to start him this week because Tennessee they don't get like tortured by like receiving backs or anything like that. So I mean, I don't really feel comfortable with anyone from Cleveland.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if you're going to start one person, you're going to start Duke Johnson, but that's only in the flex. Other than that, we can kind of move on.
Yeah. Marcus Mariota, he still seemed like he wasn't 100% last week. Are we expecting more of the same from him staying in the pocket, winning from in the pocket this week?
Yeah, I think that it's going to be like that for the next couple of weeks. But, man, I have to say one thing, though. Wasn't that pass to Taywan Taylor so beautiful on Thursday night last week?
Yeah, it was a good pass. It was a good pass.
I love that. That was so beautiful.
That's why I always say I was always in love with Marcus Mariota's arm talent.
Yeah, he has a great arm. I actually wasn't sold on him, coming into the league, but we'll get into that later. Anyways, a guy that I really like in this matchup, though, is if he suits up and he starts, Derrick Henry, man, he is in for a monster game if he starts.
I mean, Cleveland, surprisingly, has been kind of stingy against the run this year. They're right now they're ninth in run defense, and they only give up the ninth most fantasy, or they only give the ninth fewest fantasy points to running backs. So I mean, that's one area of the field where they haven't been bad. Everywhere else, pretty much, they've been bad, but the running back position. I kind of like Eric Decker this week. I think Eric Decker gets his first touchdown.
I like that.
I like Eric Decker. I like Delaney Walker. Obviously, he's playing Cleveland. I think even if you have Rashard Matthews, you could fire Rashard Matthews up, and you're gonna have to wait and see who the starter is between DeMarco and Derrick Henry. You have to wait until game time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're just gonna have to kind of wait.
Let's go New Orleans on the road against Green Bay. Obviously, Green Bay, they just lost their starting quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, most likely for the season. That's a shame. They're 4-2. They're going to have Hundley at the helm. It looks like Ty Montgomery will be a little bit more healthier than last week. Are you hesitant at all about playing either Jordy Nelson or Devontae Adams this week?
What's the question again? I didn't quite hear the whole thing.
So are you hesitant about starting Jordy Nelson or Devontae Adams this week without Aaron Rodgers?
You know what? Yeah, I am. But at the same point, if you have a guy like Jordy Nelson on your team, chances are you're going to have to start him. He's like a must start every week. So it's like you kind of got to ride that out. A guy like Devontae Adams is a lot more replaceable in your lineup. So I could see maybe replacing him. But I think you're going to start Jordy.
Who would you start out of these three receivers? Alshon Jeffrey, Rashard Matthews, or Jordy Nelson? This was asked by at 6% a month on Twitter. Who would you start? Alshon Jeffrey, Rashard Matthews, or Jordy Nelson?
That's tough because Rashard Matthews is a great matchup this week. So
I'm still going with Jordy.
Yeah, I would still probably say Jordy. I mean, you have to remember this New Orleans defense is not that good. So
I think they're better than last year.
Right, but that's still not saying much. That's not saying much. Yeah.
Honestly, New Orleans is kind of looking like a funnel defense almost. They're 20th against the pass. They're 8th against the run. I think that this is going to be Hundley's chance to really make an impact. I know people are a little bit hesitant about him. I don't think he is that bad, actually. I would feel comfortable playing Jordy Nelson. I would even feel comfortable playing a guy like Devontae Adams. I wouldn't be surprised if Hundley ends up being a decent stream. I'm not saying he's going to be, but I think I wouldn't be surprised.
I agree with you. I agree. I think that he's had a week to prepare for this game. I think if there's a time, the time is now to prove what he is to the Packers.
I think the two guys I'm not really comfortable with, though, is I'm really not comfortable with the Randall Cobb, only because I do think Green Bay will try to run the ball a little bit more than what they have been, and I'm not playing Martellus Bennett even against the Saints. This is not the same Saints defense from last year. The Saints no longer struggle against the tight end. They give up the 13th fewest fantasy points to tight ends. They've only given up 16 receptions, which is the least amount in the league to tight ends. So you're not starting Martellus Bennett this week. I know it looks like a good matchup, but it's not.
But it's not.
Yeah. I mean, how you feeling about this run game, though?
For the Packers?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't even know. I don't know how it's going to shake out. So for me, if you can avoid either option, I probably would. I think I would definitely sit Aaron Jones this week because Ty Montgomery is a week healthier. I think if you're starting anybody, you're going to start Montgomery.
Yeah, I think you could start Ty Montgomery for sure. Because I do think that Green Bay is going to throw the ball a lot less than they have been. And that's definitely gonna play into a guy like Ty Montgomery's. But it only could take one good shot and then he's out.
That's true. Very true.
Playing with broken ribs ain't no joke. I honestly thought that Ty Montgomery was gonna be out. I thought he was gonna be out and then return after his bye week. That's honestly what I thought was gonna happen, and it just didn't.
Yeah. So I mean, the guy has shown he's pretty tough, and I like him this week if he can stay healthy and all the way through the game.
Yeah. Let's go on to the other side of the ball. We got Drew Brees slinging the ball over here. Green Bay, they're a little bit better against the pass than the run, but they're still not that great against the pass. They're 16th, but they're 24th against the run. I mean, I still see Brees airing it out against them though. It's just who he is, right?
Yeah, I think it is too. But you do have to be a little bit cautious because this is a road game, and Drew Brees historically obviously isn't as good as he is in the Dome. But I mean, you're going to fire up Michael Thomas for sure. You're gonna fire up. I mean, for me, I have no qualms this week. Mark Ingram's a must start, and so is Alvin Kamara.
I was looking up. I'm looking up the health right now for Snead. Have you heard anything about Willie Snead?
I think that he's getting healthier week to week. That's what I've been hearing. But let me just.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking to see like what his health is looking like because I think that his health actually ties in a lot to Alvin Kamara's value in the passing game. Once Willie Snead gets healthy, I don't think Alvin Kamara is going to be utilized as much.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, I mean, he's been limited all week, but I do think he's going to obviously suit up, and he's going to get a lot of those down the middle receptions. He's going to be working out of the slot mainly. I think that Brandon Coleman's going to be in the mix too. So I would temper my expectations for Snead, but at the same time, I could see him.
I'm not expecting a whole lot.
I mean, I'm not either. He's not 100% healthy.
I mean, I was just bringing it up because I do think that it's gonna affect Alvin Kamara eventually, but yeah. I'm just not sure when. Snead only played 27% of the snaps last week, so he wasn't really that much involved. It's gonna obviously go up as he gets more healthy, though.
Definitely.
I do like Mark Ingram. I think Drew Brees is a top option. I think Alvin Kamara he's really a flex guy to me this week. Green Bay's only given up 26 receptions to the running back position. They're 19th in PPR points. So he's just an all right play.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I say he's a must start, I do mean that. Like, I would only put him in my flex. I wouldn't start him over, any of my other running backs. But I think that he's a nice flex option this week. And I think if you have him on your team, you're going to start him in the flex.
Yeah, no Kobe Fleener love. He didn't catch any passes last week. Fuck him.
Yeah, I think that Alvin Kamara and Willie Snead are just going to completely zero out his fantasy value.
Well, that and Josh Hill.
and that too.
Let's go Jacksonville on the road against Indianapolis. This could be a game where Jacksonville may or may not have Leonard Fournette. I think let's just play the what if game for a second and say Leonard Fournette doesn't play. Where do you see it, Chris Ivory? Is he an RB2 in your eyes?
I mean, yeah, if he's getting the volume that Fournette, I mean, we don't know yet, but if he gets the volume that Fournette has been getting, then yes, he's an RB2.
I think that they will try to get him plenty of volume because they don't want Bortles to throw the ball. I think Ivory would be a solid plug and play if Fournette is not to suit up.
Yeah, I really hope they don't make this a game time decision because it's going to be really difficult for people to actually start Ivory this week.
Well, this is a afternoon game, right?
Yeah, they play at 1 o'clock. Yeah.
Oh, that's not a good thing. I think though if there's a receiver that I think I do like Allen Hurns this week. Indianapolis's defense is terrible. I think Blake Bortles is a good streaming option. They're 30th in pass defense, 21st in run defense. They give up the 29th most points to running backs, 25th most points to wide receivers. Yeah. I think Allen Hurns will catch a touchdown pass. I think Ivory would be a good play. I even think, like I said, Blake Bortles would be a good play this week.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, the Colts, cede the most fantasy points to quarterbacks, so I could see it. The other noteworthy thing is, it really ups Allen Hurns' fantasy value if Marquise Lee isn't able to go. So keep that in mind.
I honestly wasn't even aware that he had an ailment.
Yeah, he's questionable, and it sounds like he has been limited all week, and it sounds like he is a real possibility of not being able to go on Sunday.
Any Mercedes Lewis love?
No.
Let's go over to the other side of the ball. I think Jacoby Brissett, he's actually surprised me.
Yeah,
I like what he's been bringing to the table. I think if he gets another solid year under his belt, he might actually end up being a decent quarterback.
Yeah, he could. He was really accurate on that Monday night game. So
I think it's interesting that the Patriots. They just knew 100% without a doubt that Garoppolo is better than Brissett. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that the Patriots are right, but, I mean, they're usually right about these kind of things. It makes you wonder how good Jimmy G is,
Yeah. I mean, he proved it last year in those 4 games that Brady was out. He can definitely handle himself.
Well, but Brissett played 2 of those.
Yeah, I know. Well, and the other thing, too, is, you have to remember, Jimmy Garoppolo, the Browns were trying to trade for him, and New England said no. So if they're not going to take a first-round pick for the guy, they got to feel really confident about him.
Yeah. As far as this game goes, though, the Jacksonville Jaguars this year, they have been the no-fly zone. They're 4th in the league in pass defense. But obviously, everyone knows their run defense is terrible. 31st in the league. Enter in Frank Gore, Marlon Mack. Which one do you like more? I think I'd probably go with Frank Gore because I think he'll get more carries. But Turbin's out for the year, so I think Marlon Mack will get more play.
Yeah, I think he will too. If you were asking me who the more talented back is, I'm going to say obviously Marlon Mack. Frank Gore is just old as shit now. But yeah, Frank Gore is going to get the majority of these carries. And I like him this week.
Yeah, I think they're both flex options. Actually, I think that you could even use. I think you could use Mac. I think that he's a more risky play, but I think you'll be able to flex them both.
I can see it.
T.Y. Hilton. What are you doing with him? Are you sitting him on the bench?
Man,
it's a tough play for him.
Yeah, it really is a tough matchup for him. But you got to think. What other options do you have on your team? And if you're in a 12-team or, lower league, chances are, T.Y. is a guy that you're going to start most weeks. So you really got to have better options on your bench or I wouldn't. My point is that it's a tough matchup, but chances are you might actually have to play him.
Honestly, I even if I think I have to play him, I might not play him and just take a chance with somebody else. But then again, you come around the question of do you actually even have anybody on your team that has the kind of upside that Hilton has? And the answer is probably no.
Yeah, exactly.
Any love for a guy like Jack Doyle this week? There's one area of the field where Jacksonville has struggled with the tight end position. They're 21st in the league in defending the tight end.
Well, I don't think that. I mean, I think this could be a somewhat close game. It's a divisional game. It's in Indianapolis. I do think that if Indy finds themselves in the red zone, he could be a target.
Yeah. Let's go over to Arizona on the road against the Rams. This is, I think this is in LA.
Yeah, it's in LA.
Yeah. I think this is a game where Arizona they're going to have some issues on the offensive side of the ball. I think the Los Angeles Rams, I think they're second in the league in sacks, and Arizona gives up the second most sacks in the league. It's no surprise everyone knows they have a bad offensive line this year. I think that's going to be the deciding point in this game is the fronts.
Yeah, I really think that last week with Adrian Peterson was kind of a game script fluke. I think this is going to be – I mean, we're going to really see this week. Is Adrian Peterson really, really back, or is he just an imposter? And I think he's an imposter.
Well, I don't know if this is really a good week to judge that either. The Los Angeles Rams are 28th in run defense, and they give up the most fantasy points to running backs. This actually might be a pretty good week for Adrian Peterson. I'm not gonna lie.
I've been reading that too. You know what, man? I really don't think so. Because if you erase that big long touchdown run that he had in like the first quarter, he didn't really do like a whole lot else, like as far as like noteworthy plays.
I mean, I could erase that touchdown run, but I won't because it happened and it gave people points. I just think that I just don't think the Rams have a very good run defense.
No, they don't. I just really think that Adrian Peterson's not for real. I'm a hater. Sorry.
I don't think that he's like toast by any means. I think he has a little bit left in the tank. I don't think that I think he's still a shell of his former self. But, I mean, he looked pretty good last week. I think, though, they will get Ellington more involved this week. They didn't have a single touch, obviously, because of game flow. People are probably dropping Andre Ellington right now. And I think it's a mistake. I think he will get some work. I think he will get some work.
Yeah, I think that it's too early to drop Andre Ellington. If you can hold him on your bench, you should.
Are you rolling with Larry Fitzgerald?
You there?
Are you rolling with Larry Fitzgerald?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think that you are. If you're a Larry Fitzgerald owner, you're going to roll him out. But the Rams have had a surprisingly good backfield.
Secondary.
Secondary. Yeah.
I mean, they're giving up the sixth fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. So that's a little bit intimidating. Larry Fitzgerald's pretty much all they have, though. I mean, you got John Brown, you got Jerron Brown, you got J.J. Nelson. Those three are just all taking targets away from each other. You don't know who's going to emerge on top from week to week out of those three. So you're rolling out Fitz.
Yeah, he's the only one with a safe floor in Arizona.
Yep. Let's go over to the other side of the ball. Jared Goff. He's starting to struggle. He's starting to show a little bit of his rookiness from last year. How you feeling about him heading into this game against the Cardinals?
Interesting thing, this game's actually in London. I didn't know if you knew that or not. But
what?
Yeah, I think this is the London game, isn't it?
No, there's no London game this week.
You sure?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm wrong then. I'm confused. Anyways, Arizona is actually, their pass defense hasn't been that good this year, aside from, Adrian Peterson, locking down, whoever is their top receiver, which, I mean, at this point is probably Sammy Watkins.
I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't think that Patrick Peterson's going to shadow anybody, though.
Yeah, I think he's going to
think about it this way. Is there really a need to shadow a receiver that plays for the Rams?
No, there's not.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be a waste to shadow Sammy Watkins. You're going to shadow him for him to get 2 targets?
Yeah.
I mean, we did see, though, Amari Cooper totally go off Thursday night. Does this mean it's Sammy Watkins' turn? He's been probably just as bad, minus the drops.
Yeah, that's true. It could happen. I mean, Arizona is a golden opportunity to do that. They don't have a very good pass defense at all.
They don't have a good pass defense. Let's say that Sammy Watkins is covered by not Patrick Peterson. That could be his chance to score,
Yeah, it really could.
But all three of these receivers, though, I feel like they're just desperation flexes, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement, definitely. I mean, you're not going to start a guy like Robert Woods. I mean, you're not feel comfortable starting Cooper Kupp. Although you could make a case for Cooper Kupp, just because, him and Jared Goff have that weird, love connection because they, they're like both white blonde guys, what I mean?
I think there's going to be someone out of this receiving corps that's going to be a pretty good start this week. If I had to guess, I'm not putting my money on Kupp. I'm putting my money on Robert Woods. Robert Woods has been the most consistent receiver out of the three.
That's true. You still don't feel safe about that. There's a lot.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Todd Gurley has a tough matchup. You're still rolling him out there, though.
Yeah, you're gonna.
Arizona's not as scary as they were last year. They're just not.
No, they're really not. Exploitable.
Let's go to the Jets. They're on the road against the Miami Dolphins. It's funny is they both have the same amount of wins.
I know. Isn't that crazy? I don't think either of us would have predicted that at the start of the season.
I wouldn't have predicted them to have the same record as the Patriots last week either, though.
No way. Yeah, it's crazy.
Miami, they look like a pretty tough defense. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great matchup for them. They're actually one of my streams of the week as far as defenses go. I think that they're a fine play.
Yeah, they held they held Atlanta 17 points last week. They're third in the league against the run. They're 12th in the league against the pass. They're playing this Jets defense that's just bad. Their Jets defense just isn't that good. 27th against the run. This could be the week where Jay gets his wheels going. We know that he's a streaky dude. He's kind of doing what he did last year. He'll have one good game followed by just a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. Hard to say.
I do think though he's gonna have he'll have a good game against the Jets. I really do. I think that's probably their best option to move the ball too.
Yeah, I think that Adam Gase is going to do that. He's been very hesitant to let Jay Cutler throw the ball on first and second down. So he's going to let it Jay Ajayi, he's going to tote the rock, first and second downs. And then he's going to make Jay Cutler have third and, fours to throw on,
Yeah, I mean, also the fact that Devontae Parker might not play this week. So we don't really know if he's going to be available.
Yeah, I would put my money on he's not going to play.
Yeah, and that probably just leads you to more of a run heavy script that way as well. You're still liking Landry. I think Landry is going to be an extension to the run game.
Yeah, exactly. He's a guy. He's getting those short receptions. He's also shown really good rapport with Jay Cutler in the red zone. So look for him there. He's also a good bet to score a touchdown. I think a good bet as any in this offense, aside from Jay Ajayi. And I think that in PPR leagues, I think that he's a wide receiver too this week.
How do you feel about a guy like Kenny Stills in this one?
I think if Devontae Parker doesn't suit up, which it sounds like he won't, I think that he's a wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3 borderline.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Let's go over to the other side of the ball. Is there anyone on this Jets team that you're playing that you're excited about, that you feel confident about?
No, because they've even said the Jets are going to do a timeshare with Powell and Forte. So it's like you can't even start Powell.
You can't start Powell. You're not starting Forte.
You're not starting McGuire.
Robbie Anderson's a desperation play. I think Jermaine Kearse is a desperation play. The only guy I want to play out of this Jets team is ASJ.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. I would play ASJ.
ASJ is probably going to lead the team in receptions and targets. He's a good bet on to score a touchdown. Miami's 27th against tight ends this year. So I mean that's the one play that you have in New York.
Yeah, I would agree.
Let's go to Baltimore, going on the road against Minnesota. Their offense is banged up right now.
Yeah, what's going on?
I think this could definitely be like a defensive banger, defensive like sluggish type game, like a slugfest.
Yeah, final score 3-0.
No, seriously, I think Baltimore and Minnesota, they're both kind of teams that just want to control the clock, control the ball, and play good defense. I think that's exactly what both teams are going to try to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you look at it. If we're going to start on the Minnesota side of the ball, you got Case Keenum throwing the ball. Jerick McKinnon is questionable, but it sounds like he's going to play. So I think that he's a fine play as an RB2, and I think that he's really the most noteworthy play.
I think he's an RB1 this week if he plays.
I think he is. I mean,
I think he's a top 10 play.
You could definitely make that case for a top 10 play this week, definitely.
Yeah, just because Baltimore is 29th against the run, they're giving up the 20th most they're giving up the 12th most fantasy points to running backs. So I mean, they're pretty stout against the pass. This is going to be a game where both teams are going to try to ram the ball down each other's throats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think this is definitely a good game for Jerick McKinnon.
I don't feel good about Adam Thielen.
Yeah, I don't either.
Just because that's right now it's all they have. Are they going to use him on the outside? Are they going to use him in the slot? What kind of matchups is he looking at this week?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty easy to erase a guy like Adam Thielen. I will tell you though, I do like a guy like Rudolph. I think he could have a nice week this week.
Yeah, Baltimore's 26th against the tight ends this year. Kyle Rudolph got off to a little bit of a slow start, starting to pick it up lately. I do like that. When you're plugging him in as your tight end one.
Definitely.
Let's go over to the other side of the ball. This has been a Baltimore offense that's really struggled. I think Flacco's averaging like under 170 yards a week. They really don't. Macklin's been non-existent this year. Wallace has been hit or miss. Is there anyone on this offense that you like this week?
No, but man, I just gotta make one point though. Man, the Ravens need to renegotiate Joe Flacco's contract because if he's gonna play this bad, how is he getting paid as like a top 10 quarterback?
And I guess it really pays to win a Super Bowl that you didn't really win yourself. You just kind of had a lot of help from your defense. And yeah, he made a lot of good risky throws, but I think that was a defense that helped out a lot too that year.
Yeah, fuck man.
Buck Allen, Alex Collins, they both have tough matchups. Minnesota doesn't give up a ton of points to the running back position. Not only do I not feel very confident in either one of these guys this week, I'm probably not starting either one of these guys this week. There has to be better options on your team than these two guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
I'm not playing Macklin. I'm not playing Wallace. I'm not playing what's his face at tight end either, because it just seems like they're all just really inconsistently used, and no one's really been lighting up the board on this offense at all.
No, I think honestly all these options are droppable. If you still have Macklin on your team, you need to drop him.
Yeah, I thought it would end up being a good little setup for him because of all the targets he was supposed to get.
I thought so too.
It just hasn't worked out. You're getting to that point of the season where it's like, all right, you had 6-7 weeks to see if it would happen, and it hasn't happened yet. It might be time to move on.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's go Dallas on the road against San Francisco. Do you think San Francisco gets their first win? I don't. They're probably going to go with Beathard again. Dallas, his defense is actually looking a little bit better than what I thought they were. They're 7th against the pass, 15th against the run. Is there anyone on San Francisco's side of the ball that you like this week? Carlos Hyde, maybe?
Yeah, I think that he's the only guy I really like. I would say that you could play Pierre Garçon too. This isn't a scary matchup by any means, so you could play him as well.
What's funny is Dallas, they're 7th against the pass this year, but they're 26th in PPR points to wide receivers.
That is a really weird stat.
Yeah, so I do think Garçon could get some work in this one. I do think that Kittle. I think George Kittle is their second best option to move the ball as well as far as passing it. I think Kittle's a nice. I think he's a nice play this week.
Yeah, I think so too. And Beathard has shown that he likes to throw to him too. So I think that's great. And then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it though.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, I think that Dallas is going to really look to hook up with Dak and Dez this week. We've seen Beasley score 2 touchdowns before the bye. Pretty much you could do whatever the fuck you want against San Francisco. Just don't throw to your tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, for some reason they're 20th or higher in every single position, but when it comes to tight ends, they're number 1.
Yeah.
They've been the best defense against tight ends. So I mean, I don't think this is a really good week to start Jason Witten. I mean, we've seen him come through though in some tough spots before, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is serviceable. Zeke's gonna play. I think Zeke plays and Zeke eats.
Yeah, I think Zeke's gonna feed this week.
Yeah, I think this whole team's gonna feed. I feel good about Dak. I feel good about Dez. I think Beasley's more of like a wide receiver 4 desperation type guy that you're not really just throwing right out there. Yeah, one guy I'd probably leave though on the bench is definitely Witten.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's go Cincinnati. They're going on the road against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, they're also looking like a pretty tough defense. Who do you like on Cincinnati's side of the ball this week?
I'll tell you who I'm in love with, man. And this isn't just because he's on my team, but Joe Mixon. I think this is going to be his coming out party, man. Talent will always prevail, and this kid is so talented. And this is actually a pretty good matchup for him, I think.
I do think that this is going to be a low-scoring slugfest. I really do think that.
Yeah, game script is going to favor Joe Mixon in this one, and Le'Veon Bell, for that matter.
Cincinnati is first against the pass. Pittsburgh is second against the pass. What this game is going to come down to is which team is going to be able to run the ball better. Cincinnati still has a pretty decent run defense, but running the ball against Pittsburgh has been kind of like their weak spot. They're 23rd against the run. Joe Mixon could have some space. The thing is, though, is their offensive line good enough to take advantage of Pittsburgh's less than stellar run defense?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question mark in this one.
I mean, I don't know. I just don't see. I could see him getting a lot of carries in this one. Maybe he busts out a long run. That's what you're hoping for if you start Joe Mixon.
I disagree on that one. I think that he could actually be really productive this week. I think that he scored. I mean, if there was ever a silver lining about the last game he played, it was that he got in the end zone. I think he has a good chance of getting in the end zone in this one. And I think that if this offensive line can block for him, I think that, man, he could be potentially. I mean, not on paper, but I think he could be as far as a top 10 play this week.
Maybe we'll see. I still think I'd definitely put my money on Bell this week over him, though.
Oh, I mean, anybody's going to do that. Nobody's going to say Joe Mixon over Bell. No way. I know.
I'm just trying to use that as a smooth transition to the other running back, Le'Veon Bell. Despite the tough matchup, I still think he shows out this week. I can see him getting a little bit more utilized in the passing game, though.
Yeah, I think that this is an area of the field where they're going to have to get creative because, Cincinnati has a really good run defense, so they're going to have to get creative with how they use Le'Veon Bell. That's
what I think. I think they're going to use him a little bit more in the passing game in this one. Besides Antonio Brown, are you liking a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster?
I don't really like anybody outside of AB this week because I mean, Cincinnati does. You can't sugarcoat it. They have a tough defense. They have a tough secondary. It's hard to really start anybody else besides AB.
Yeah, I mean, you're still starting AJ Green despite the bad matchup. Pittsburgh gives up the least amount of points to wide receivers, but you're still plugging them out there. AJ Green came out for you tough when they played the Bills. That was a tough defense too, and he showed out. You got to have some faith in AJ Green this week. I think that other than that, that's pretty much all the guys I feel comfortable with in Cincinnati is just maybe AJ and Mixon.
Yeah, agreed.
How you feel about Big Ben? Would you start Big Ben this week?
No, definitely not.
Okay. Let's go to your team, Denver, going on the road against the Chargers. Who do you like on Denver's side of the ball?
Man, it's tough, man. I mean, after we're still licking our wounds from like getting beat by the worst team in the NFL. I mean, but Simeon's not up to full health. Neither is Demaryius Thomas. I think a guy like Benny Fowler could end up being a factor in this one because if a guy like Demaryius Thomas gets shadowed by Casey Hayward, I think they could really open things up for Benny Fowler, and he's also been a nice red zone target for the Broncos in some games.
I'm going to go in an opposite direction of you on this one. And I think that C.J. Anderson is going to be the big beneficiary in this one. The Chargers, they're 32nd against the run. They're dead last against the run this year. But despite being dead last against the run, they only give up the 18th most fantasy points to running backs, and I guess that's mostly because they don't give up a lot of receptions. They're a bend but don't break type of run defense. But I do like C.J. Anderson in this one. I think that he has a great game.
I can agree with that. I think that with Trevor Simeon's injured shoulder, I think that they're not going to want to test him too much. I think they're gonna definitely play it safe and hit it on the ground. I agree with you on that one.
And you know what I kind of noticed when Sanders went out, they who they were using a lot more in the passing game was Devontae Booker. He had like 4 catches, 70 yards.
He had a great game. A lot of people were even starting to talk like, ooh, timeshare. I don't think that's the case. I just think
it's time to pick him up. At least start thinking about picking him up.
Yeah, I agree. You should definitely pick him up. But here's the thing: Denver just had to get a little creative with their offense after Emmanuel Sanders went out.
What happened to Jamal Charles?
You know what? that is a funny thing. From what I understand is, if something were to happen to C.J. Anderson, the handcuff to own would be Devontae Booker, because he's more of a between the tackles guy. Because Denver seems content using Jamal Charles, as a passing down guy. But at the same time, I don't know where he went. He just kind of disappeared in that game.
You said Demaryius Thomas. He's not at 100%, but I think he's close. I do think he's close. He's going to see a lot of Casey Hayward, though. I do like your take on Benny Fowler. Benny Fowler is going to get the off coverage a lot this week, and it could pay him some dividends in this one, especially if you're playing him in like a DFS game. That might not be bad.
Yeah, he's going to be dirt cheap in DFS.
Yeah, but I think Fowler's fine. Let's go. Is there anyone else you're not liking the tight ends this week? No. Let's go to.
AJ Derby is just really not a factor in my mind.
Okay, let's go to the Chargers side of the ball. And we're not going to sugarcoat this either. Denver has a tough motherfucking defense. They're first against the run, third against the pass. I think the only area of the field you can really truly beat them is the tight end. They're 28th against the tight end. Hunter Henry, the first 3 games, he put up 2 goose eggs, and people were really nervous about putting him out there. Some people were dropping him. Are you finally starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with Hunter Henry?
Yeah, I think he's finally proven he's in the circle of trust. But, Denver's just a tough defense, it's also not out of the question, Chris Harris, who usually, covers the slot guys. You could see maybe Hunter Henry seeing a little bit of Chris Harris this week. So, I don't really like that too much.
I'd like to think is if they ever put Keenan Allen in the slot, he's going to see Chris Harris.
Yeah, so, that's not good at all.
So I definitely think they're going to want to keep Keenan Allen away from the slot. I do think that maybe move him over to the flanker position. I don't know if this is just pure speculation right now, but I do think they're going to try to keep him away. I think they're going to try to keep him away from Chris Harris. It's going to be a tough matchup though. You're not starting Tyrell. How do you feel about Melvin Gordon? I mean, obviously you're playing him, but Denver's the only team in the NFL that has not given up a rush touchdown so far.
Yeah, they haven't. I actually, I'm gonna make a hot take here. I do actually think that Melvin Gordon's gonna have a pretty decent game because, the Giants. You got to remember Orleans Darkwa burnt this team, and Melvin Gordon isn't really – I don't think he'll get his damage done between the tackles. I think he's obviously going to get it done, via reception. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think he'll catch some passes. Denver really hasn't given up a lot of receptions though either. They've only given up 24 receptions to the running back position so far. So, I mean, you really got to. I think you're gonna have to temper your expectations and just hope that Melvin Gordon falls into the end zone somehow.
Yeah, I mean, every time that San Diego's in the red zone, he's always a good bet to get a touchdown. So, you got to like him. He's like the number one option in the red zone.
Yeah. Anything else with this game?
Nah, that's it.
Let's go to Seattle going on the road against the Giants. The Giants coming off their first victory against Denver. I mean, to me, that really surprised me that they were able to pull that one off.
Yeah.
This is another tough defense. Not as tough though. I think they will. I think Orleans Darkwa might be able to string together a couple of good games. Seattle is normally – you normally think of Seattle as a tough run defense, but they're 18th against the run so far. They've given up 4.9 yards a carry so far. So I definitely think that there will be some room to run for Orleans Darkwa.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Seattle is definitely a bottom team as far as run defense goes. At least this year they are. So
I mean, they're 18th, so they're a little bit below average, but they really haven't had a lot of carries against them. 129, but they're giving up nearly 5 yards a carry. That's the bad part.
Yeah, that is the bad part. I definitely think that you could definitely fire up Orleans Darkwa in your flex for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. I got a question for you that I seen on Twitter.
Okay.
For the rest of the season, Sterling Shepard.
I knew it was going to be Sterling Shepard.
Or Willie Snead.
Oh, I mean, to me, it's not even a question. Definitely Sterling Shepard because he's the only option there, and
I feel like that's the most important one. Yeah, I feel like that's the most popular take.
Yeah,
I'm here to say Willie Snead over Sterling Shepard, and here's why.
Okay. Because
Sterling Shepard's not a true number one receiver. He's going to have to step into a role that he's unable to fill. And who's to say that he's just going to get shut down as the number one receiver playing against the number one corner week in and week out when there's really no other receivers out there to take any of the heat away from him. Willie Snead gets Trevise to throw him the ball, and he doesn't have to face the number one corner ever.
And the Saints also throw 50 times a game, so.
Yeah, I think people are just a little bit low on Willie Snead because he's only appeared in one game and he didn't do anything. He hardly played. So a lot of people are going to be low on Willie Snead right now. I think, though, for the rest of the season, yes, Willie Snead over Sterling Shepard. I know Sterling Shepard's going to be a number one and all that, but that doesn't mean he's going to be an efficient guy. He might get 10 targets, but will he catch like 6 or 7? Who knows,
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. That's just a question I seen that I wanted to bring up real fast. I think really the only other guy you're really thinking about starting outside of Darkwa this week is Evan Ingram.
Yeah, I like Evan Ingram. I think that he's going to be a great rest of season play. He's already shown that he gets a lot of open space, and he's been a favorite of Eli Manning's all season, even without the injuries to wide receivers. So I love him even more now.
Yeah, especially since Seattle are 18th against the tight end, and he's going to have to get targets now. So, like you said, I definitely think that's a good play. Let's go to the other side of the ball. This is a running back situation that we're going to stay away from. How do you feel, though, about Doug Baldwin or Paul Richardson?
That's tough. I would say this is going to sound like a hot take, but I actually like Paul Richardson more because I think that, Doug Baldwin's going to see a lot of Janoris Jenkins.
The Giants, they're 24th in pass defense, but they only give up the ninth most. They give up the ninth fewest fantasy points to tight end or to wide receivers. In fact, they're the only team though inside the top 10 in defending wide receivers that has allowed 70 receptions. The reason why they're a top 10 defense against wide receivers still is because they only given up 2 touchdowns to wide receivers. So I don't think that I don't think that Paul or Doug Baldwin's going to necessarily break that streak. He's not necessarily going to be the guy in the good match. I think Paul Richardson is definitely in a better matchup, so it does make sense.
Well, and you look at it too. Historically, Doug Baldwin, when he finally had his coming out party, a couple of years ago, his big value was, he scores double-digit touchdowns like each year, and if he doesn't get in the end zone, he doesn't give you a very good play that week. So that's something to keep your eye on. If he doesn't get in the end zone, most cases he doesn't have a productive fantasy week.
I mean, I don't think by any means that he's gonna burn. I don't think he's gonna burn you this week by any means. I could definitely see Paul Richardson scoring a touchdown in this one. Just a feeling. I know I hate when people say that. Just a feeling, but I do. I have a feeling.
Yeah, I do too.
I think though the one guy you should feel excited about playing though for Seattle is Jimmy Graham. I'm sure we're all aware of how bad the Giants have been against the tight end this year, dead last. So Jimmy Graham's going to eat this week.
Agreed.
Anything else of this game?
Nope, that's it.
All right, let's go to this is the game that I'm looking forward to. Is the rematch of the Super Bowl. Atlanta going on the road against the New England Patriots. Both already have 2 losses on the season, but if the Falcons lose this game, they'll move to 500. They don't want that. Who do you like on Atlanta's side of the ball? Pretty much everyone, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think this is going to be a get-right game for Atlanta.
And let this be a lesson to Sarkisian. Look what happens when you get your stud the motherfucking ball. They threw the ball to Amari Cooper 19 times, and look what the fuck he did. Wake up, guys. Give Julio the ball.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Julio definitely needs to get involved. Even Dan Quinn's, he's in on it too. Sarkisian is a horrible offensive coordinator. His entire career has been based on a lie. So yeah, I think that they just need to honestly just.
But I don't think he's the reason why Julio doesn't score though. Julio has just never scored. It's been they went through like 3 or 4 different coordinators. It's been the one constant.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah, Matt Ryan. That's the reason why he doesn't score touchdowns. It's Matt Ryan, I think.
Yeah. True.
I just think for some reason I don't know if it's because of the scheme or if it's because he just doesn't see him, but he just doesn't get Julio the ball enough in the red zone.
I feel like sometimes they use Julio as like a target decoy. Like they just know that he's going to draw double coverage. So then they take him, and then they know it frees up the rest of the field. Well,
I think towards like the last couple of years of Kelvin Johnson's career, that's what the Lions were doing with him too.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that's what they were doing, but now their offense is seeing negative effects. They're finally realizing, okay, we need to get Julio involved. We need to not just use him as a target vacuum,
This just hit me just now. There's a lot of striking resemblances of Julio Jones' career compared to Calvin Johnson's career. I mean, think about it. Calvin Johnson's his best season when he had 1,900 yards. It came 5-6 years into the league.
Yeah.
Julio Jones when he went off for 1,800 yards he was about just as old as Calvin Johnson was. And he's a guy that suffers a lot of injuries just like Calvin Johnson did. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see an early retirement for Julio Jones.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I can see it happening.
I mean, and I know that's not something that anybody wants to hear or think about, but that could be a reality.
Yeah.
I mean, how much fun do you think he has playing injured every single week? Yeah, it can't be fun. Week in, week out. But a little bit off track, but do you like Taylor Gabriel against the Patriots? I think this is a good week to play Taylor Gabriel without Mohamed Sanu in the lineup. Yeah, I've actually heard last I heard about Mohamed Sanu is he's questionable, but it sounds like he's more on the side of doubtful. So I think that if he doesn't play, I think Taylor Gabriel is a fine play. Yep. Austin Hooper has been getting a ton of targets while Sanu was out last week. I think that he can keep it up this week against New England. He's a fine play. Let's go over to the other side of the ball. I'm sorry, but we do like Freeman and Coleman, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. Let's go over to the other side of the ball. We got Tom Brady. He's going to do some Tom Brady-like things in this one. Do you like Mike Gillislee? It seems like every week I always ask you, do you like Mike Gillislee? Because I always think that he could get some work in this one. I don't think about it. I don't think he's a great play this week.
No, not at all. I think that he kind of, Bill Belichick doesn't like him because of his fumble problems, and I think we're going to see more of a Deion Lewis, and I think it's going to be the Deion Lewis and James White show this week.
I love James White this week. Atlanta is a defense that does like to give up a lot of passes out of the backfield. They were like that last year. They're like that this year. I think James White is a good play. I think both Brandon Cooks and Hogan could both potentially be wide receiver ones this week. I like both of them. Gronk, surprisingly, this matchup isn't as good as it looks on paper for him because Atlanta actually hasn't given up any touchdowns to the tight end so far. That could very well change though because it's Gronk.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else? Is there anyone that you're actually on that you're looking? What are you looking for?
I mean, I've been on Chris Hogan for a while. I think that he could be the guy this week because Brandon Cooks is he's a little harder to predict, but I think that taking up those targets up the middle, I think that where Hogan does his work, I think that he could have a productive game.
Do you don't think Damian Amendola gets any work in this one?
No, I don't see it happening.
I mean, he was getting a decent amount of work last week. I think he scored a touchdown.
He did.
Yeah. I'm not going to completely write him off just because this is a good matchup. I think pretty much any one of these guys is going to go off. Is there anything else for this game?
No.
Let's go over to our final matchup of the show. We're going to talk about the Washington Redskins. They're going to go on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles are a hot team right now. They're 5-1. Carson Wentz looks like a stud. Who are you liking on the Eagles side of the ball?
I mean, Carson Wentz has been absolutely on fire this year, and I like Zach Ertz too. I mean, he seems like he's a weekly bet to score a touchdown.
If you compare Zach Ertz's fantasy numbers to every single wide receiver in the league, he has the 5th most points out of wide receivers. Wide receiver 5. That's how good he's been.
Yeah.
I think he's not. I don't think he's very far behind guys like I don't have it in front of me right now, but he's been stellar. I think Wentz will be stellar in this one. Washington, they have a top 10 pass defense right now, but some of that doesn't it just feel, to me it feels really fluky.
Yeah, it feels wrong to me.
It doesn't look like they'll have Josh Norman this week either again. So, I mean, you could also make a case for Alshon Jeffrey. I actually like Nelson Aguilar more, though.
Yeah, I do too. That's really surprising for me to say, but yeah, he's been solid this year. I mean, he's had I think 3 or 4 of his games he's had a touchdown and over 100 yards receiving. So you gotta like that.
Yeah, I think he's a wide receiver 2 right now, and I don't think he's gonna be a wide receiver 2 for this week, but I think I do like him in my flex.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think he's a good flex play this week.
I think both Blunt and Smallwood, I think they're both in tough spots this week. If I had to choose one, I'm obviously going with Blunt. Blunt quietly is on pace for over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I know. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's go over to the other side of the ball. Who are you liking on Washington?
I like Kirk. It's really hard to pick anybody else aside from him. It's just like, they spread the ball around so much. It's like, okay, Chris Thompson, you could make a case for him in the flex. You got, Jordan Reed. Are we actually going to see Jordan Reed finally do something this week? You have Terrell Pryor. Is he finally going to, do something too? Yeah, and Jamison Crowder has been an absolute non-factor, so it's just really hard to tell. It's a great shame because Philadelphia, they're 28th in pass defense,
and they give up the second most points to wide receivers. But Washington doesn't have a number one receiver to take advantage of that. Shit!
I know. Shit. God damn it.
I thought Crowder and Pryor were going to come out last week against San Francisco. It didn't happen. I think if I had to pick a receiver that I like for Washington this week, it would be Pryor.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's going to have to happen sooner or later. I think that they just have to get on the same page, and they have to utilize Pryor properly.
Usually, Washington's going to have the receivers are going to be a lot bigger than most people's corners. They just have to utilize that a little bit better. I mean, they got Pryor, who's like 6'5". They got Josh Doxson, who's like 6'4". They got Jordan Reed, who's like 6'5". They need to use their size a little bit better to their advantage.
Exactly. They got to bully people around.
Like I said, Philadelphia, they really struggle against the pass, but they've been really good against the run. Philadelphia is a classic funnel defense. You're not going to want to run the ball against them. Yeah, Rob Kelly's coming back off an injury, but you're not playing him. You should have never been playing Samaje Perine. I think Chris Thompson, though, is still the play here. I think he's a good play this week. I think he's an RB2 this week. Philadelphia has given up 37 receptions so far to the running back position. I definitely think that Chris Thompson's a viable play. Really, Chris Thompson's emergence has really hurt guys like Jamison Crowder. Yeah. I think that's why Jamison Crowder's been hurting lately, is because Chris Thompson.
Well, yeah, I mean, you think about what he was doing last year. He kind of played like a Jarvis Landry like role, last year, and that's why. And now that's getting taken away because Chris Thompson's getting those short receptions.
Yeah. Now, how confident are you feeling in Jordan Reed this week?
I feel like he could do some damage this week. It's just going to matter. I mean, it sounds like he's as close to full health as he has been all season. So I think that if it's any time, it's now's the time.
All right. Is there anything else for this last matchup?
Nah, I'm good.
All right. I want to do a little bit of rapid fire before we end the show. Just a few more questions.
All right.
If Josh Norman plays, are you going Alshon Jeffrey? I think this is pretty easy. You're going Alshon Jeffrey and Nelson Aguilar.
I think I'm going Nelson Aguilar.
Okay. What is your thoughts on Orleans Darkwa being a legit long-term running back to hold on to, or is he just a weekly fill-in?
I'm buying on Orleans Darkwa. I think that he could be definitely in the RB2 conversation rest of the year.
I definitely think he's a hold, and you're going to play him, but you're playing matchups.
Yeah, I think for now, but I really do think that he could be a rest of season option for sure.
Oh, yeah. Half-point PPR, Chris Thompson or DeMarco Murray this week?
I think off a health standpoint, you got to go with Chris Thompson.
Yeah. Is Corey Davis worth holding?
Only in a keeper.
Okay. Only in Dynasty?
Only in Dynasty and in a keeper league. I think that he's definitely droppable at this point. I mean, he has to be. He's just not healthy.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have to even ask this last question because we already beat it to death. It's just asking what's your take on Nelson Aguilar. I think we both expressed that we like Nelson Aguilar not only this week but from week to week, right?
Yeah, I think that he's definitely a hold on your bench, and he could definitely – I mean, I think that he's going to end up – by the end of the season, I think he'll be about 80% owned.
All right. Anything else that you want to add, K-Mill?
No, I'm good.
I think that will pretty much do it for today's show. If you like listening to this, please leave us a rate and review on iTunes. That would greatly appreciated. You can find us on Twitter at the Fifth Down FF. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Slokes. That's SLOKES, all one word. Thank you for tuning in, Fifth Downers, and have a lovely night.